Yes, sorry for that interruption. I have to continue from where I stopped. Someone wrote that, but I refuse to be distracted on this issue because it's all about the history of the country. Many of us don't understand the history of the country. A lot of times we tend to look at secondary problems without checking the roots of the problem. We have to, for you to sort out a problem, you have to check the roots. Because when you don't tackle the roots, the problem will always reoccur. It will be like in mathematics, what you call a recurring decimal. Why I've always maintained that the problem of Nigeria was because of the House of Fulani. Yes, there are secondary issues to these problems, but first of all, there are things that caused these problems. Okay, someone just wrote about Igbo leaders being the problems. Yes, we know that the problems, but how did they emerge? How did they emerge? They never became our leaders through free and fair elections. They were imposed. And how did that imposition come about? The structures of today's political arithmetic or political, whatever you call it, emanated from the past. It came about because the foundation is very bad. Because if the foundation is not bad, we won't be having problems. And how did I say the foundation is bad? That's what I'm trying to talk about on the wickedness of the Fulanis, especially when it comes to after the Civil War. After the Civil War, because one, they used the rest of Nigeria to fight against Biafra, particularly the Igbos, thinking that the Igbos are the problem. But I'll come to that. I was talking about the history of these problems in the first, before it was interrupted. Actually, I talked about meeting a lady on Allen Avenue, an Hausa lady who is a Christian, who told me a lot about Kano State. And if you ask most Nigerians, the typical Nigerian will tell you that anybody from Kano State is a Christian. But unfortunately, that is not right. So I had a robust discussion with this lady, and she told me a lot of things. Some of them I knew, some I didn't know. But I want you to understand that the typical Hausa is traumatized. The typical minority in the core north is traumatized. The Fulani has traumatized them in the sense that young girls there are raped easily. They are married off without even, most times, their parents' consent. You see that they've started encroaching into the southern, beyond the southern borders. The other time there was an issue in Bayelsa whereby a teenager was abducted. Even the emir of Kano State was privy to that information, but nothing happened. Nobody has been arrested up to today. This is to tell you that a lot has been happening in the north for a very long time. What we are witnessing today is not new. So, going to coming to the wickedness of the Fulanis, and if you listen to my earlier statements, I am not against the Fulani as a people. There are still good ones among them. I'm not generalizing, but their elites, which represents them, has been doing a lot of harm. That Nigeria did not work emanated from them. Yes, the British left a very bad foundation on, but that is what do you expect from colonists? The average colonist doesn't want Africa to move on. They don't want Africa to be prosperous. They came and decided our future. They gathered people together, people who don't share the same value, people who doesn't get along, people who are like the mixture of water and oil brought them together. Yes, but why can't we come together, sit down and say, let us move forward? Okay, the colonists made things wrong. There's the case of Tanzania. We can easily come together, sit down as brothers and sisters and say, let us make things together. Because of the fact that the Westerner doesn't want us to succeed, they have looked at us as perpetual markets for their product. Let us work together and make this new country a better place for us, for our children, for future generations. But unfortunately, in the case of Nigeria, there are many things to blame. Key is the Fulani's wickedness. The Fulani's wickedness in the sense that go to the north, you will understand what I'm talking about. Because you are nobody in the core north. You are nobody unless you are a Fulani. I've been opportuned to mingle with them. I was a student leader back in my undergraduate days, so I had the privilege of mingling with every tribes in Nigeria, particularly the Fulani and Hausa. So I understood the politics. That is why they have the mentality of born to rule. In the core north, it is the Fulani that rules. So that was why when Obasanjo used his cunning nature to start to rearrange things, Jonathan continued trying to sustain the new leverage that the Hausas and minorities were getting in the north. Then that came about the flaring of the Fulanis. And that is why Buhari is doing what he's doing. That is why Buhari came in and became mad. They became mad that they themselves that were born to rule, they are being subjugated and bringing their servants and slaves up. But the average Nigerian doesn't understand. That is why many Nigerians don't know the history of the country. So this is why I started this series. I will be teaching the history of the country to many people who doesn't understand the history of the country. Because like I always said, my people will say that if you are not where a corpse is buried, if you are asked to go and exhume the corpse, you will start from the feet. So brothers and sisters, I'm not here to blame anybody. I'm not here to blame the Fulani, but I'm here to teach the Nigerians who doesn't understand the history of the country, because Nigeria can never work. The Fulani is ready to kill anybody, to kill everybody for them to be in power. This is why we must as well be ruthless. If we are not ruthless, we will continue to be slaves in our country. So now, that person who is telling me that I should soft pedal and that Nigeria is this, that Nigeria is that, that person is stupid. That person is a buffoon, because I understand the directions of the country. I understand their mentality, and they don't have monopoly of violence. They are not bigger. These are men, very few people. But unfortunately, they conquered the Hausas, and they think that they can conquer the rest of Nigeria. So you need to understand that the average Hausa man is traumatized. But we are not giving them the chance, because Ejigo Islam, Uchigideha, the religion of Islam has now overpowered them. The Fulani is now using the religion of Islam to overpower them, because Islam is not only a religion to them, it is equally a way of life. But what do you see? They are the emirs. The Fulanis are the emirs. They are the Sultan of Sokoto. They are the Grand Kadi. They are the Islamic heads in the country. They are the, what do you call it? The clerics. They are the clerics. So they use that religion to hold them tightly, because remember, religion is the opium of the masses. So many people now no longer see Before you know it, they arouse people with religious sentiments, and people will start dying, thinking that they're going to get virgins, or that they are dying for the sake of spreading the religion of God. These are the things we need to, people need to understand these things. In the core north, as an average Hausa person, you don't have a say. As a young girl, if you're beautiful, you will be kidnapped by any Fulani, good Fulani who is interested. Your parents will not have a say. It's happening. It's been happening a long time now. Some of you have witnessed that they've crossed border. They've now brought that act to southern Nigeria. The other day, a Bayelsa teenager was kidnapped before the parents, and up to today, Nigeria has never arrested anybody. The emir of Kano is even aware of that situation, but nothing happened. Is it today? So they've made sure that the Connaughts, especially those they conquered, don't get education. The Fulanis are born to rule in the north. That's why they, under the umbrella of Hausa Fulani, they claim that they are more in population. They want to spread their influence over the rest of Nigerians. Under the disguise of Hausa Fulani, they keep subjugating Nigerians. And the stupid Igbo man who thinks that somebody who is not better than him, somebody who is better than him. So you really need to get to understand, when they conquered the Hausas, they dropped their religion. They dropped Fufude. The Fulani speaks Fufude or Fula, whatever. I have many of them as friends, yeah. Since I came to the West here, in Dublin here, I have one strong Fulani friend. He's from Guinea. So I understand their history. It is only the Nigerian Fulani that you will not see abroad, toiling, drawing waters, and hewing woods like a typical Nigerian on the streets of Europe or on the streets of North America. When you see the Fulani abroad, they're here to go to school. After that, they go back home and get the best of job. Check out some of you who have Fulani friends in the universities back home or in Nigeria. After graduation, check your own status and their own status. Where are you and where are your Fulani friends? They are all sitting in many streets, chopping Nigerian money, and you are toiling. You will search for a job for 10 years or even 5 years, or go and set up your own business. But they never look for job. They never look for job. If you say what I'm saying, if you think I am lying or I'm issuing fallacy, quote me wrong. So in the north, they've subjugated the Hausas and the Connaughts and used that influence and try to spread it in Nigeria. But we've been resisting them. That is why we're having problem with them. That is why they hate us. That is why they've ruined Nigeria. Actually, the interest of the Fulani is just to control. It's just to control, nothing more. If they are not in control, every other thing should scatter. They will always want to control you. And that is what is happening in Nigeria. That is why Nigeria is not working. That is why Africa is shaking. Because I know if Nigeria had worked, a lot of things would have been better in Africa. But these are the things that are the problems in the country. Go to the north. We have the highest beggars. But look at those beggars. They are not Fulanis. They are Hausas and minorities. These are the things Nigerians don't understand. The Fulani never begs in Nigeria. The Fulani is on top of position. Look at what Buhari is doing. He's appointed. Buhari is a typical Fulani. His own is not mixed, because the Fulanis in the north have they've succeeded in one particular thing, planting offsprings in most of the Hausa families. Because they have access to Hausa women, they do whatever they like, they own the land. Hausas are traumatized. So we should be having mercy for them. We should be helping. They need rescue. These are the people that have held Nigeria together. And the moment Nigeria is severed, that will be the end of Fulani in Nigeria, because they've been very wicked, extremely wicked. That's why they are afraid, because the average Hausa person and or Kanuri, or the minorities in the north, particularly in the Kaduna area, they've been looking for a way to sort out this problem, because these people have lived under domination since the time of Osman Danfodio. So you see why I blame their wickedness. There are a lot of things. I blame their wickedness in the sense that they've been behind every government in Nigeria. When Nzogu and Co and other four majors struck in January 1966, yes, they killed Sadwana of Sokoto and Tafawa Balewa. But they equally killed an Igbo man, because people have been trying to paint that coup as an Igbo coup. The quartermaster general during that time was an Igbo man. What's his name? I think Unebe. Somebody Unebe. He was an Igbo man. He was shot. These guys, it wasn't an Igbo coup. But unfortunately, he was termed an Igbo coup. Remember, during that period, before the colonial times, the Igbos were more in education. They were into education because the Irish came to Igbo territories and were building schools. They built a lot of schools, and Igbos saw that the best way for them to attain greater heights was through Western education. So they now embraced Western education, embraced the Irish, who spread Catholicism and Western education. So the Igbos moved towards them and had Western education. So when it was time for native administrators to emerge, the Igbos were more, because they were interested in education. They always want to succeed. They want to be at the top. So, and it breeds jealousy. So because of this, there were more Igbo officers in the military, because they were educated. They were going to school. That was why the first Nigerian military commander was an Igbo man. You know, so unfortunately, he died because he was detribalized. He died in Ibadan. His ADCs were from the north. And today, one of his killers, Theophilus Danjuma, is going about, have amassed stupendous wealth through oil and everything. We know this, but nobody is talking about this. Nobody is talking about these things. History is not being taught in Nigeria. Children don't know their left and right. That is why Nigerians don't know what is happening. That is why many people are still buffoons. They are walking around. Because when you don't know the history of the past, you can't know the directions of the future. So this is why I say the Fulanis have been wicked. From that, Irosi was killed 6 months after he took power. Irosi was even against the coup. When he took over, 6 months later, he was killed. He was masterminded by the Fulanis, because the Fulani has one weapon. They always use others. That is why today's Nigeria, things are not going to be the same if there's any problem. Things cannot be the same, because Nigerians have woken up. Nigerians are now awake to know that, okay, but unfortunately, they are trying to sustain the wrong things. they've done. They are trying to sustain the stupid document called 1999 Constitution that they are using to run Nigeria, saying that they are more in number, giving themselves more states and more local government, sharing the resources of Nigeria through landmass because they have, because they controlled the northern part of Nigeria, which have more land mass than the south. But unfortunately, you know about the land. If you have traveled from the south to the north, you see how the land is. It's not a fertile land. I mean, Connaught is not Middle Belt. It's not Benue. We need to start understanding this. Gowon took over. How did Gowon took over? They just presented Gowon because he's a northern Christian, but they were behind Gowon, telling Gowon what to do. When Gowon saw certain mistakes he had made during the Civil War and wanted to correct it, because after the Civil War, they used the rest of Nigeria to fight against Biafra. Then they removed Gowon and Morota took over. The Middle Belt revolted through Bukasuka Dinka and removed and killed Morota Mohammed. Dinka was killed. Then Obasanjo came in. When Obasanjo came in, they were behind Obasanjo, the Yaradua. You know the Sino Yaradua, the Shehu Yaradua. They were behind Obasanjo, telling Obasanjo what to do. At the end of the day, Obasanjo still handed over to one of the Fulani, Shehu Shagari. And you know, they never meant well for Nigeria. They will never develop Nigeria. They have never wanted to develop Nigeria. They are just interested in controlling power and perhaps Islamizing Nigeria. But unfortunately, they know they cannot succeed at that. The problem of the Fulani man has been the Igbo man in Nigeria because of our Republican nature and because of our die-hard mentality, and because we are born as children of God. We don't bow to anybody. Any Igbo man who bows to them, look at that person very well. That person is not a real Igbo man. That person is not an Igbo man, because we know that most of us during the Civil War, there was invasion on Igbo territories, and our women were carted away like goods. They were pregnanted. Many of them had children, and they brought them back. Some of them, you see them online today, shouting Biafrobs, shouting against the Igbo people, shouting against what is common truth. Some of them are bastards. They are not really Igbos. You might see them. Answering Emeka or Igbo names. They are not Igbos. They are bastards. We know about that. I have aunties who were pregnanted by Hausas, though they later came back. But unfortunately, they had babies for the Fulanis and Hausas. What do you expect? That was war. They were booties of war. So we need to understand these things. Our people need to begin to understand this simple and naked truth. And that is why we must resist. This is our generation. In fact, shame. We don't rectify this problem, because the next generation will be talking about this. And why? They are afraid. Because the truth liberates. When the typical Nigerian gets the truth, you will see that liberation will just come. We will liberate ourselves. We will better ourselves. We will create our own republic and do the right thing. So when I say wickedness of the Fulanis, I stopped at Shagari. Shagari, when Shagari was fucking up, his brother, the one that is sick now, that they are hiding. What is there in being sick? Is it a government? Because they are very wicked. because they have ulterior motive, because they hate Nigeria. These people are very unpatriotic. They are the people that really hate Nigeria. Because if Buhari doesn't hate Nigeria, why is he hiding? He just resign. Man, if they like Nigeria, if they love Nigeria so much, he would have resigned. And the next person will take over. But unfortunately, I don't want to talk about this. These are secondary problems. The primary problems is what will make Nigeria unworkable. Whatever. There was an article I wrote one time. I called Nigeria the soured soup. Nigeria is like a soured soup. I've said it many times. But I called it a soured soup during Jonathan time because Jonathan tried to resuscitate the soured soup. You know what I mean by soured soup. Most of you are privy to that. When we are back home, often when he came sorry, but I have to mix my local language with this. Often soup could get soured, and you try to get it back to taste. You add different condiments to get it back to taste. But however you heat it, whatever you add into it to bring nice taste to it, to get it back to life, there will always be that sour taste. And that was what Jonathan tried to do. But unfortunately, the foundation is bad. So, my people say, you don't learn how to use, you don't be a leftist or learn how to use your left hand at old age. Buhari came during his first time. As a wicked person, he doesn't want to get into the theory of economics, how things can move, the principles of buying and selling and demand and supply. He just wants to bulldoze his way. Who said Buhari is not corrupt? He was former petroleum minister. We knew about the cash that got lost at Entebbe. And we know the Fulanis now. They've raped the country. They raped the Hausas. They raped the North. They are liars. They will lie to high heavens in order to sustain themselves in power. We know that, but many don't know. That is why I said I have to start a liberation gospel. You that is out there, help me by talking to every Nigerian you meet, because many Nigerians are in bondage. They need deliverance. They need deliverance. They need deliverance in the form of truth. They need just give them example with truth. When you give them example with truth, the truth will set you free. This is a very simple. There's no need. It's not rocket science. Just truth. As long as you're a truthful person, posterity will vindicate you. It might not be working for you now, but later it will work for you. Buhari was toppled by Babangida. Yes, Babangida is not Fulani, but they are the same. You will always see Fulani behind them because these minorities in the core north is very difficult for them to liberate themselves from the Fulani because the Fulani has emasculated them with religion and culture. Age religion, you see emirs everywhere. And if we allow them, they will. If we allow them to come into the south, tomorrow you will hear of emir of Oka, emir of Owerri, emir of Abakaliki, emir of Nneha na Nnaha. So why shouldn't we separate from these people? Look at the other day. Do I need to say look at that? Look at what is happening in Plateau and Kaduna. There have been conflict. There have been conflict for a very long time. It's just that many of us are privy now to social media, so we are now seeing what is happening via social media. But there have been massacres now. Ota, they've been killing Igbos for a long time. They started killing Igbos and Efiks and Ibibius and Ejos in the core north, and even some Yorubas, despite the fact that some stupid Yorubas are always against Igbos. They wouldn't even differentiate. They've been killing them in the north because they've succeeded in subjugating the average northerner. So Ndi Igbo Joro, their problem is the Igbos, and we are bigger than them. Unless you have a defeatist policy, we are better than them. We think of manufacturing. Do they think of that? Their interest is in oil. We don't. I said it before. If there's a way we can just put all this oil, and ship it to them, let them take oil. Then we tell them that human beings, human head is bigger than natural resources. An organized society. Imagine a whole Nigeria, a country of 100 and something million. The biggest market in Africa, that even if you are selling pen in Nigeria, if the market is organized, you will be stupendously rich. But they don't want the average person to be okay. They have a mentality of subjugating people. They have a crude mentality of making sure that people bow to them. People who are non-entities. You know, what are they good in? It's just Islamic studies. You just go and read Islamic studies and you end up being bank manager. You read Islamic studies and you will be running Nigerian Post Authority. You read Islamic studies and you will be running custom and excise. Then after Babangida, Abacha tried to deal with them, being a renegade amongst them. Abacha is not a Fulani, despite the fact that they've emasculated them. He tried to deal with them, but the North, it's very difficult for the core North to come out from that bondage of. It will need a total war in the North for them to liberate themselves against the Fulani, because the Fulani has succeeded in raping their women, in having offsprings who are mixed breed. They've succeeded in dropping their religion, taking up the Hausa religion, intertwined with the Hausas, and start Shishaze the present Izera Dofe, Sizani now Hausa Fulani. Then the typical Nigeria is now thinking that they are Hausa, and Hausa Fulani is a tribe. No, it is not. These are two distinct people. The typical Hausa is a good person. The typical Fulani is very, very cunning. If he's not in charge, nothing more. But unfortunately, they don't have what it takes to develop. I've always asked them, I'm not against anybody running Nigeria, but what is the blueprint for development? If Nigeria has been developed, if Nigeria has been industrialized, if Nigeria, there's equity and fair play, we won't be talking about balkanizing the country. We won't be talking about Biafra. We will not be talking about dividing the country. If there's jobs for people, Nigerians won't even be bothered if the ruler is Fulani, sorry, or Yoruba, or Ijo. But because the foundation set by the victors of the Civil War and those handed over power by the British were bad. The foundation was very, very bad. That is why we are in this problem. And that is why we must separate from them and do our thing. So that is the thing. The message I'm giving, that is the most important thing. And that is the message of truth. That is the message of liberation. Those who know me very well know where I have always stood. So many don't know. I don't follow people sheepishly. I only stand for the truth. And the truth will always set you free. We have always wanted a better Nigeria. But unfortunately, it cannot work. So when I say the wicked Fulani, it's because they've set a very bad foundation in the North. And they've spread it across the country. Because after the Civil War, you've known successive governments, what they've been doing, how they've been running the state aground, and the powers behind them is the Fulani pushing them in order to sustain this their nonsense power, this their fiefdom, emir of this, emir of that, emir, even emir of Ilorin, a Yoruba city. So I stopped at Abacha. When Abacha died, Abdul Salam is still one of them, took over. Then they handed over to Obasanjo. Obasanjo was one of them because there was agitation. They've seen that they've been cheating the rest of Nigeria. Okay, we are transferring power to the south. They now brought one of them, one of their stooges, and gave him power. Fortunately, I was in Jos at the PDP convention. As a first-year student, I managed to follow a bus from Oka to Jos. I spent days I was very inquisitive, and as a curious person, I went to that Jos convention, which happened in the Jos Stadium. I saw everything there, live. I saw how the founders of PDP were cheated and Obasanjo was given power. Then Obasanjo, knowing fully well that, look, Nigeria has been on the wrong foundation, cunningly, but because he's a wicked person, because he's a criminal himself, he didn't do things rightly, and because he wasn't bold enough, he handed power back to them. But unfortunately, he brought a sick Yaradua. Yaradua, who is a junior brother to his former deputy when he came on his first missionary journey. It was the death of Yaradua that brought in Jonathan. Or else an Ijoman will, over his dead body, who is an Ijoman in Nigeria, to smell power. It was the death of Yaradua that brought Jonathan. And it just happened like a miracle. You knew how Jonathan came into power. So we know all these things. We need to begin to understand the history of the country. We need to begin to preach to the average Nigerian what is going on, because I get into debates with the Yoruba man or woman, the Edo man, the Asian man. I am not scared of debate anywhere. I debate with them. They say, "Oh, editor, I'm disappointed in you." I say, "Why should you be disappointed in me?" I bring facts. I tell them facts, but unfortunately, they don't know it. Because ignorance is a very bad thing. When you are ignorant, you can argue and argue and argue like an idiot and argue like somebody on the marketplace. Even you keep on arguing that your friends and your relatives will be ashamed. But an ignorant person is like a mad person. He or she has no shame. So we must help to educate Nigerians. Because when we educate Nigerians, they will begin to understand the truth. When they understand the truth, then we can solve this problem. Because Nigeria can never work. There's no need pretending. Nigeria can never work. But we have the onus lies in us to educate Nigerians. Some of them who are thinking that when the issue of Biafra comes up, that they call it Biafra, they some just hate an Igbo person just for nothing's sake. Just because the Igbo person wants to stand up for his rights, they just hate him. If I start telling you what your fathers did, many of them don't even know about the indigenization decree. Many don't know what happened during the Civil War. Yes, we were not born during the Civil War, but I grew up and started doing research and started asking questions. I love the story of the Civil War, but from different accounts. I see the two because I hate one-sided story. But we know how it paid. We knew the problems the war left because we lived it. We were born after that. We saw everything. We saw how our parents suffered. We saw how we struggled. We saw how we came to this state, that things are getting better. So the wickedness of the Fulani has caused a lot of problem for Nigeria. The Fulani was unhappy against Jonathan. That was how they just aroused everything, and they used most Yorubas, Yoruba media, the conventional media, Tinubu and co, who were opportunists, who were looking for power. They're not, despite the fact that some people have always talked about Yorubas as cowards also. No, they are still good Yoruba. There are two Yoruba. There are progressive Yorubas and the other side. It's unfortunate that some when a group of Yorubas get into power, or they control the machinery of power, they now spread that influence over others, and there will be an umbrella form of assumption about the Yorubas. We must not forget the fact that Fajuyi died protecting Irosi, Adekunle Fajuyi, the military governor of Western region. He gave up his life, refusing to release his visitor, his boss, to keep his, saying that he cannot. It is against the law of nature. And he died with Irosi. We must not forget that. We must not forget that there are progressive Yorubas. There are groups in Yoruba land who have always stood for restructuring Nigeria, who have always stood for a better Nigeria. But because of the problems inherent in Nigeria, the problems brought in by the Fulani's quest and lust for power, and the encroaching of Yoruba land with Islam, because as they empowered some stupid Igbos, creating a new Igbo elite, they did that too in the Southwest. So you will always see two Yorubas, but one side will always dominate against the other because of the certain things that happen historically between Azikiwe and Awo. So it looks as if Igbos are are always on the war front with Yorubas. No, there are progressive Yorubas. I've met some of them. At least I have one guy here in Dublin who I always sit with and rub minds about how Nigeria can be better. And not only that, I have seen some of them. So this is why I say we must get on to evangelize the average Nigerian, to let them know the ills in the society. Nigeria would have been a better place, but unfortunately, the same people who are talking about hyenas are the hyenas. Nigeria can never work. Let us not deceive ourselves. Nigeria can never work. Restructuring would have been better, but how do we start restructuring? Because the virus, the HIV virus, has circulated in the entire body. So it is tough. It's not easy. So that was why they bundled Jonathan out of power. Despite the fact that Jonathan tried to do a lot of things for the North. But they are not happy that the average Hausa man is getting education, that the average Hausa man is being woken up, that the average northern minority is getting on his or her feet. The Fulani wasn't happy. They instigated revolt against Jonathan. And Jonathan was bundled. Yes, the people that surrounded Jonathan were criminals who even ate more money in Jonathan's government. He was pleasing them because he was weak and because he lacked the political force to change things in Nigeria. He was bundled out. He appointed their brother as INEC chairman, and the same guy rigged him out. That is the irony of the whole thing. So I leave that topic the Fulani's wickedness. Just check out what is happening in the core north. This is how you know how wicked they are. In the north, it is only them that is in charge. If it is not a Fulani that is in charge in any area in the north, nothing will move. Those who understand what I'm saying, they can attest to that. Then coming to the stupidity of some Igbos on the fringes of the border. I say some Igbos are stupid, especially those who live on the border. So if you look at the map of Igbo land, if you look at the map of Igbo land, the south, the northern part of Igbo land, the southern part of Igbo land, the eastern part of Igbo land, and the western part of the Igbo land. But I'm going to talk more on the western part of Igbo land and the southern part of Igbo land. Those who live on the fringes of the border, especially those who are denying that they are not Igbos. You know who I'm talking about. Ikwerians. Some Ikwere people, some in River State and some in Delta State. Now it boils down to the creation of states. In 1960, Nigeria had 3 regions. From 3 regions, one was added the Midwest that had been before the Civil War broke out. And Gowon created 12 states. Why did Gowon create 12 states? And that 12 states, they tried to balkanize Igbos, pushing Igbos, trying to decentralize them, trying to make sure that they are not in that cohesion. They are not in unity. The origin of creation of states in Nigeria was as a matter of effect of the Civil War. It was to end the Civil War. That was how the creation of states started in Nigeria. And Gowon created 12 states and gave the core Igbo hinterland only 1 state, pushing Igbos into other states, making them deny their identity. Today you see an Igbo man whose name is Chukwuma Okonkwo saying, I am not Igbo, I am not Igbo. And when you speak Igbo, he hears. Nobody even taught him Igbo, but he says he's not Igbo. Is that not stupidity? I lived in a place called Eboma. We lived there for 10 years. So these are, I want to use Eboma as an instance. If Eboma is in some part of Eboma, majority of them are in Imo State, whereas others are in River State. This is where you get that sentiment. They are still in the Delta axis. Abo. You remember Ebanke. Ebanke is in Edo State. These are Igbos, oh. They are in Edo State. Then their brothers, Kate and Ken, are in Delta. Some of their brothers who are in Delta say they are not Igbos. They are not Igbos. But the Ebankes say they are Igbos. What of those who call themselves today as Kwales, the Ukwanes? I have a friend here in Dublin many years ago. His name is Okechukwu. Hey, I'm not Igbo. I'm not Igbo. Sometimes I look at him. I say, man, I became ashamed. I'm not even ashamed. I'm even ashamed of myself. I said, man, human beings. That's why I told you that I was ashamed because that guy was mad. I was ashamed because he's not ashamed of himself. Shame always catches the kids and king of a mad person. It doesn't catch. It doesn't affect a mad person because he doesn't know what he's doing. Creation of states in Nigeria was to end the Civil War and balkanize the Igbos. Gowon created 12. Then Morotala added it up, added 7 and made it 19 and created Federal Capital Territory. They moved it from Lagos. You know Abuja, many of you live in Abuja. You've visited Abuja and see how did Abuja come about? How was Abuja created? How was Abuja built? Are you talking about the building of Abuja? Does Nigeria collect taxes effectively well? What are the taxation policies in Nigeria? Many Nigerians don't pay tax. Dangote and Co. They don't even pay tax. It's all oil money. I haven't forgotten that I was talking about Eboma. I'm going to come to that. Then, from 19 states, which and Federal Capital Territory, which Monotala created, Babangida added his own, made it 30. Then Sani Abacha completed it, 36, which we have up to today. And in this state, you see, the latter part of the state, after Gowon used his own creation to back him. And I told you before, they were behind Gowon, pushing him on what to do. Today, look at what is happening. They are killing Gowon's brothers and sisters. They are killing Gowon's brothers and sisters. He's handicapped, going about raising an organization called Nigeria Praise. When I was doing my youth service in Sokoto, I was in the cathedral. We were having a mass service in the church, and Gowon came in to talk to us. Then I had a book. Then I had my new book. Then with Igbo, a political history of the Igbos. I dedicated one chapter to talk about the ails of no victor, no vanquished, of which Gowon stated. I raised up my hand in the cathedral. I wanted to lambast Gowon in that church. They refused that I should talk. They said I'm not going to talk. But what I did was, when Gowon and his age were just crossing through the pew, the middle, I mean, you know the church, the central space whereby you process to the altar. I had to give one copy to his age to give to Gowon. That book, Will and Igbo. Many of you know that book. You've used it for research and to read it. Gowon is going about Nigeria Praise. Nigeria Praise, refusing to say the truth. His people are being killed every day. So these are the things. The creation of states in Nigeria was to balkanize the Igbos. And you see, many Igbos, you find Igbos in Benue State, you find Igbos in Kogi State, you find Igbos in different states today, balkanizing them. Look at the Igbos in Benue State. They don't even have bridge. Nothing to show for it. No local government, nothing. No presence of government. The people are suffering. Look at those in Ebanke, in Edo State. Nothing happens to them. They don't even get any government presence. Now, coming to others who are living on the fringes of the border, they claim that they're not Igbos. We talk about Port Harcourt. Today's Port Harcourt, I have seen arguments, many Nigerians say, the Niger Delta is this, who are the Niger Deltans? Who are the Niger Deltans? What constitutes Niger Delta? Port Harcourt. Who are the indigenous of Port Harcourt? They're coming to what I was saying about Eboma. I said I lived in Eboma for 10 years. My parents, my dad was a licensing authority there. So I did my primary school there when we moved from Aba to Eboma. So all that axis, I know it very well. Eboma is a typical example of how Nigeria has tried to balkanize the Igbos, how to try to disintegrate the Igbos. You see few villages in River State, then the rest are in Imo State. Their developments are just uneven. Then you move, those in Imo State are Igbos. Those in River State claim not to be Igbos. Then after Eboma, you get Ibocha. Ibocha is a settlement town. These are Igbo towns where Ajib operates. Ajib Oil Company operates. Where gas has been flaring for decades. Stupid Nigeria, gas flared for decades, running into billions of pounds, wasting. Then from Ibocha, you get Obricom. From Obricom, you get Omok. These people, their names are Chukuma, Okonko, Chukuma. Then from Omok, you get Ahuda. The traditional ruler of Omok, for example, when I don't know his change, was Obi of Omok, Chukwumela Nnamobi, the Oba of Obaland. They are Igbos. When you speak Igbo, they hear, but they tell you, no, I'm not Igbo. We are not Igbo. The same with what's in Port Harcourt. During the Civil War, names of towns were changed to reflect their new state of servitude, subservient nature of the Fulani backed Nigeria. But gradually, many are beginning to wake up. You now get to these towns, you see that they are now getting to be divided. Some are now saying we are Igbos, some are saying we are not Igbos. Because their fathers who collected porridge, peanuts, and crumbs that fell from the table, brainwashed their sons and daughters, telling them they are not Igbos. And they had to, whatever you teach your child, that's what your child is going to take on. So I call them stupid Igbos, but we still owe them that duty of educating them. We must educate them. No Igbo man will be left, no Igbo man or woman will be left on the soil of Nigeria when the time comes. Because this is a time of gathering our people. We must gather our people. These things were predicted in those days. We are going to do a lot of things. Nigeria cannot stop us. So anybody, even some of us, we know that there are Judas amidst us. We will handle them when the time comes. For those who doesn't want to change. And we've seen that many Nigerians are waking up. They want the truth. They're beginning to wake up to the truth. And we must help them out. We must spread this message. We must evangelize to them, to tell them the truth. Because truth liberates. There's nothing like the truth. The Bible said, the truth shall set you free. When you say the truth, you have nothing to fear. If you have one story today, which is the truth, if they wake you up in the next 10 years and ask you about that, you will always say the same thing. Brothers and sisters, that is the wickedness of the Fulani in Nigeria. That is the stupidity of some Igbos who living on the fringes of the border. We must begin to reclaim what rightly belongs to us. We cannot leave our brothers who are on the fringes of the border or who spiraled into other parts of Nigeria by omission or by commission. We will never let them go. And that is my message for today. Thank you for listening. My name is Aokachuku Okoli. Aumonyo.